Hi, welcome to Excelsius Project. My name is Nikki. That's my cat. Today we're going to be talking about people pleasing as we continue our series on healing and personal development. For those of you who don't know me, I went through a really rough time and I made myself videos to help me cope, and I found them very helpful. And so I figured I would start sharing them online in case there was somebody else out there who was similar to me or going through similar things to me that might find the videos helpful to them too. So that's where this channel was born. So today we're going to talk about people pleasing, what I think it feels like, some of the things to watch out for, some things that maybe you could do to start getting out of it, that type of thing. So if that's your cup of tea, you want to listen, you're very welcome. Please be mindful, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a counselor. These are my opinions and my thoughts, my feelings. And if you are going through a rough time and you need help, please go and get it. I feel like we all have a natural propensity to a very small degree to people please. We are very social creatures, we're very communal. Our very survival and evolution depends on our social skills, this sense of community. We wouldn't be able to thrive. You might notice that if you have close-knit groups in your personal life, that you might start to assimilate to the people who are closest to you. You might emulate the way they speak, you might dress similar to them, you'll have similar likes and dislikes, you might have similar mannerisms, and it might be very subconscious, it may not even be intentional, but it happens. And I think it's normal, it's natural, it's not a big deal. It becomes a big deal though when you're starting to give and give and give out of a fear of a negative reaction from somebody else, and you start sacrificing things and it starts to hurt you, and you're not able to feel comfortable with yourself, and it doesn't become enjoyable because you're so afraid of the consequences that could happen if you don't go along with whatever requests or demands are going on in your relationships, in your bonds, in your life. Sometimes in relationship dynamics, when you've got one person giving and the other one always taking or receiving, the person who is receiving, making the requests, making the demands, there will be people in your life who love you, who have good intentions. They're just very accustomed to getting what you're giving. And because they're so comfortable with it, when a change happens, they might question what's going on. There might be a little bit of a reaction. But if they love you and respect you, they'll hear you out and they'll make adjustments. And most often that is the case. But there may be situations in your life where the people you have in your life don't always have the best intentions. And when you start pulling back, or you make requests of your own and you need things, not only will you have a negative reaction or a little bit of a challenge, you might face a little bit of abuse or a lot of abuse. You might even lose people. So you need to be prepared as you go along this journey. When you've made decisions about things, one of the things you need to be prepared for is when you start either pulling away or when you stand up for yourself, there might be a confrontation that happens. There might be uncomfortable discussion, which is very normal. We need to stop being so uncomfortable with being able to talk with others. It's important to have uncomfortable conversations. It creates growth. It creates a solid foundation. And if it's a very healthy and loving situation, it will have a very positive outcome. When the situation is not very positive or healthy, then there will be a breakdown and you may have to walk away. You may have to lose people, but in the end, you will find yourself. And in my case, when I've had to lose people and walk away, some of those people have come back and the relationship has changed and it's a lot healthier. I think some of the consequences that happen from being a people pleaser or becoming one, because you can absolutely be somebody who is very strong and confident, and if you get involved with somebody, especially in a romantic situation, who is not so healthy, they can definitely transform you for the negative and make you become very insecure, and they can really do a lot of damage to your mind and to your emotional health. And you can go from somebody who is confident and lovely to somebody who is very insecure, has a very low self-esteem, questions everything. So it's very important that you're very mindful of using your voice, having open communication pathways, not tolerating nonsense, not for anyone. Especially if you're a grown adult and you want to have healthy, fruitful relationships in your life. You have to be able to find your voice. You have to have the courage to say what you need and what you will and will not accept, or when things make you uncomfortable. You have to be able to voice these boundaries. People will not know what your boundaries are until you set them, until you speak them into existence. And people will push and push to see where your boundaries lie. And sometimes it's not malicious, sometimes it is. So you also have to learn how to become discerning and to read people, but you need to be able to voice what makes you uncomfortable or what you need. And you shouldn't be so self-sacrificial that you're constantly giving and never receiving. It's not healthy. Some of the things that can happen from being a people pleaser include a low self-esteem, stress, anxiety, depression, financial hardship, paranoia. It can manifest into physical symptoms as well. All kinds of things. You can develop all kinds of issues, and those issues can lead to bigger issues. And if you continue going this way, you can attract people who are incredibly predatory without even realizing it. You can lose who you are. You can lose yourself. You can lose a piece of who you are. And you shouldn't have to lose who you are to have a relationship with somebody. Any type of relationship, friendship, a working colleague situation, mother, daughter, father, son, whatever, like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't lose who you are to have a friendship or a relationship with somebody. It shouldn't be happening. And like I said, if you're not careful, you might actually attract a predator. You could end up, like, especially in a romantic situation, you might end up attracting somebody who picks up on your vulnerability because you give. And usually people who give are very empathetic. They're very considerate, conscientious. They don't want anybody to suffer. They might have gone through a lot themselves and they don't want other people to suffer what they suffer. And so they have this need to be generous, overly generous. Oh, don't worry about me, I'll be okay. Are you okay? And there are predatory people out there who watch for that. They're very attracted to it. It's like a moth to a flame. And they'll see an opportunity and they'll go for it and they'll take it. And if you attract somebody like that, it could be devastating on so many levels. They can become incredibly abusive, very manipulative, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially. A person who seeks to destroy another person for their gain. They will rob you blind and you won't even know it. You'll be paying for everything. They'll demand this. They need a loan. They'll come up with schemes. They are really evil people out there. So you need to be very careful. And they will manipulate you to the point where you feel guilty. And you feel horrible while it's happening, but you're scared of the consequences. And if you allow that to happen and you attract these really evil people into your life, you might give up your independence, you might give up your job, you might give up all the things. Because you start to not, there's a voice that takes, it's like this, it's almost like, and I'm talking about the extreme, okay? This is the extreme of people pleasing. If you attract a monster into your life, their voice becomes like this invading parasite. They're parasitic. People like that are parasitic. They will invade your entire system and try to control your entire being and your entire life. And they will do everything they can to take. They do not care about you. They don't care about the consequences. They just want what they want, and they're this giant void. They are a black hole. They are a demon in a meat suit. And they are looking to take, and they don't give a shit of the consequences. They don't care what it does to other people. And I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or anything like that to be able to speak to the psychology of somebody like that. But it feels like they are a black hole. They are very selfish. There's something in them that is lacking, that they deeply hate about themselves, that they're not able to face. And so they create this grandiosity about themselves to fill whatever that void is. And they believe this story that they've contrived. And it can have very devastating consequences on the people pleaser, who is somebody who is usually very soft and sweet and generous and kind, and they lack the strength to set boundaries. And bad people like that can absolutely alter your psychology. They can alter your brain chemistry. They can cause very serious damage. So it's very important that you really take the time to assess the relationships in your life, and that you look inside and you look at how you're feeling when you're having interactions with people. You should not be feeling tired. You should not be feeling stressed. And there are situations where you go out and you do something and you're a little bit outside of your comfort zone, and it makes you a little bit stressed. Those are normal things. What I'm talking about is when there's a constant, there's a pattern that is emerging with one person or with a group of people. When you feel that you're overextending yourself, you're tired, you're constantly stressed out, you're spending more money than you want to, you're having to rejig your whole life, and you just can't wait for it to be over and done with, so that you don't have to deal with it for a while, or you don't have to deal with that person again. Another situation that can happen is, you say yes. You just say yes because you're afraid to say no. Or you say yes instinctively without even thinking about it, and then you sit there afterwards for a week regretting it, and you start thinking of all the ways that you can get out of it. If you're experiencing any of that, there's a big problem in that friendship. There's a big problem in that relationship, and you need to address it, because now it's taking away from you. There's something in you that is not feeling fulfilled, that is not bringing you joy, that is giving you anxiety. It is counterintuitive to your sanctity, to your peace. When you're interacting with people, you should feel good. You should feel excited. It should be met with warmth. It should be met with excitement. If you're not having these types of feelings regularly, then maybe that relationship is not the healthiest. Or maybe you need to learn how to communicate, to say, okay, you know what? I'm feeling a type of way. I need this from you. And you need to be able to have these hard conversations. And the thing is, it is going to be hard. It is very hard to say to somebody, You know, when you do this, I feel a type of way. Or I need this from you. It's hard to ask for or to say what you need, because you can be met with anger and ridicule, or you can be made to feel like they don't understand you. But it's very important, because if they love you, they will try to understand you. And more often than not, sometimes we contrive this idea in our head based on previous experiences with different people that create hesitancy in our new relationships, and we need to let go of that. You should always be brave, and you should always try to speak your truth. You should always tell people what you need, communicate with them. And if they're good people, they will listen, they will receive it, and they'll speak with you too, and the two of you will navigate a middle pathway. Sometimes the hardest conversations we have will lead to the best outcomes. Sometimes the things that are a little bit challenging have the most beautiful rewards. And if you want to have really significant relationships in your life, you need to be able to have some hard conversations. You need to be able to be yourself, to say what you need, to say what's hurting you. And of course, you need to say things with finesse, with kindness, but there needs to be discussion, and there needs to be reciprocity, there needs to be a give and a take, there has to be balance. Some of the most important relationships in your life, there will be fights, there will be making up. Sometimes you will evolve into a place in your life where you two will just know what the other needs based on a look. And to get to that point, there were conversations that were had. There was a respect and an understanding. There was space that was given. There was space that was shared. Now, we all have superficial relationships to some degree, acquaintanceships, people that we hang out with and laugh with and joke with, and they're not the same as these really important key relationships in our lives. And you need to evaluate the kinds of relationships that you want to have in your life. And if you want to have really significant ones, you need to be able to have these discussions. And it is scary, but you need to do it, because if you don't, you risk losing yourself. It's a hard thing too, because you have to face that you might end up all alone for a little while. Not forever, but for a little while. And we're all very scared of being alone. But it's in being alone that we find our greatest strengths, that we rediscover who we are, that we make decisions about where we're headed and where we're going. And being alone, I don't promote being alone. We need people. But you have to have a solid foundation. You have to fix that part of you that needs healing. You have to create space so that you can be a little bit alone sometimes, so you can be with your maker if you believe in God or whatever you believe in, whether you do or not. But you need space to think about the things that are important to you. You need space to do things that are fulfilling to you. And then when you're feeling up for socializing, then you can go and give yourself to others, and be received well by others, and you can have this really beautiful two-way friendship, relationship. But if you're not solid on the inside, and you're constantly giving and overextending yourself, you're facing a plethora of issues. You're putting yourself in a very dangerous situation, and it can have devastating consequences. So if you're thinking about making some changes in your life, I highly recommend that you get yourself a notebook of some kind, or you take voice notes or notes on your phone or something like that, and you start thinking about the relationships in your life that are giving you a little bit of stress, and you think about the types of scenarios that are occurring and reoccurring, all the things that you worry about, all the scenarios you're making up, any physiological symptoms you're experiencing. And you start to assess these relationships, and you think about maybe having discussions about what you need. And if you're not comfortable having a discussion, maybe you can practice putting some space in between you. You don't have to give people the silent treatment, but maybe you start practicing saying no sometimes. You don't have to say yes to everything. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not available this weekend. Just start building a little bit of space so that you can start working on yourself. So that you can start doing things that are more fulfilling to you. And you need to be working on yourself constantly. You need to be doing things that make you feel good about yourself, that give you peace, that allow you to feel grounded, that allow you to explore your thoughts and your feelings. And it's important as well that you try to disconnect from your technology, that you put the phone away for a little bit and you go for a walk outside and you do these things that are very nourishing, that allow contemplation, that allow you to think and process what's going on, so you can start using your voice, so you can start facing things, because our phones allow us to retreat, to avoid, to distract ourselves. You need to give yourself permission to say what you need to say. You don't need to be rude, you don't need to be aggressive, you don't need to be hurtful. But you need to allow yourself to express yourself and to let people know when you're uncomfortable or when you're tired. And you need to allow yourself space and allow people to give back to you. You need to learn how to receive, because it's very healthy. And I'm not talking about receiving things that are financial things. Receiving kindness, receiving kind gestures, care, love, attention. It can feel very foreign to receive affection when you are not somebody who is accustomed to affection. It can feel very foreign to accept acts of kindness when you're the one who's always giving, giving, giving. You have to realize that you're not able to make everybody happy. It's not possible. People are going to think what they think. They're going to judge you. It's going to happen. You could take two different people in your life. One person will love you for all these things that you are. And that other person will look at all the same things and be irritated by all of them. Or some of them. It's just how it is. And what other people think of you is none of your business. You don't need to know what everybody thinks about you. You don't need to worry about it. And if you were to really be honest with yourself, do you like everybody? Is there nobody in your life that irritates you? You're not going to like everybody. You're not going to get along with everybody. Not everybody's going to like you or get along with you, and that's not a bad thing. We're all a little bit different. We have different ideas. We have different people that we have chemistry with. It happens. It's okay. And people don't need to like you to respect you. Being liked and being respected are two very different things. If you're going to strive for anything, strive to be respected. But to be respected, you need to respect yourself first and foremost. You need to know what's important to you. You need to exude it. You need to like yourself. You need to learn how to like yourself if you don't. You need to develop a sense of personal ethics. You need to have a set of morals that you live by. You need to be disciplined. You need to be admirable to yourself. When you admire yourself, when you like yourself, when you're striving for great things and goals and all these nice things in your life, it expresses itself outwardly, and people see that and they pick up on that. And they may not like you, but they'll respect you and respect what you're about. And sometimes in standing up for yourself and saying what you need to say, your greatest enemies can have the utmost respect for you. They may not like you. They might be afraid of you. They might hate you. But they will respect you. There are stories out there of great enemies, arch nemesis, who had the utmost respect and admiration for each other, and had life been a little bit different, they might have been best friends. But there's something very lovely about not being liked but being respected. When somebody can look at you and be like, you know what, I disagree with a lot, but that person, they're a person of their word. They've got good morals. They say what they need to say, and I know where I stand with them. And I like how they operate. I don't like them, but I respect them. It's a big deal. So if you can learn how to respect yourself, learn how to like yourself, keep your word to yourself, for yourself, when you go and you operate out in the real world and you're making these friendships and you're making these relationships, you will have a healthy set of boundaries. You will be able to give of yourself. You will be able to receive. You'll be able to build very solid foundations. You can have very deep, meaningful relationships in your life. And you won't be as hurt or as bothered, and you will live a much more peaceful existence than if you're constantly allowing people to cross your boundaries. It's a very invasive thing when somebody breaks your boundaries. It's a very egregious thing. It's almost like, imagine yourself as a home. When somebody is crossing your boundaries, it's like somebody breaking into your house and stealing from you. Or feeling forced to open the door so somebody can rob you. There's something very vulnerable about that. That feels very wrong. And that's why it's so detrimental to our psyche and our emotional health and our physical health if we're constantly giving away what is sacred to us when we're constantly having to make these concessions. So if you can get healthy, you can build some really beautiful relationships and build a solid foundation. Another thing I wanted to talk about is you need to think about as well. You might be in this position where you're always having to give in and give, but then what about the other person? They can just take and take. They can say what they want. They're allowed to have opinions. They can be hurt. But when you try to say something, they act as though it's like this big bad thing. How dare you say that to me? How dare you do this? How dare you say this? That's not healthy either. If somebody's reacting that way, if they're having a bad reaction to you standing up for yourself, that's not good. That's not okay. That's a flag. That's a flag that they might have bad intentions. That's a flag that they would rather just get something from you than really appreciate you. If you're saying something and you're trying to rectify a wrong, and you're trying to set healthy boundaries, or you're trying to let somebody know that they've made you uncomfortable, and they're not really listening, or they're not apologetic and they're fighting you on it, or they make a big deal about it and they stop speaking to you and they give you the silent treatment, that's abusive. If they make a big kerfuffle about it when you've come to them with humility and with love to say, look, I just want to talk to you, like this is hurting me, and they don't receive that well, and they make a big to-do about it, and they're screaming and cussing and calling you names and all the things, that's a flag, and that's abusive. If you have this conversation and they become very manipulative and they're trying to make you feel very guilty, or they try to blame it all on you, that's a flag. That is abusive. They're trying to manipulate you into getting their way. They're trying to make you feel guilty, to stop you from doing whatever it is that you're going to do or not do, give and not give. They want it to continue, so they want to make you feel guilty. They want to make you feel bad. They want to shame you. They want to scream at you, yell at you. If they lay a finger on you, you should end that friendship or relationship. No one should be hitting you or touching you, making you feel bad like that. That's really not healthy. Violence is never okay in response to a conversation, ever, ever. And if a man or a woman or anybody has a physical violent reaction to you, if you're just coming to them in confidence, please know that that is a very, very, very big red flag. But if you come to somebody and you talk to them and they're a little bit uncomfortable, but they're willing to sit there and have that talk with you, and then they tell you their own boundaries, because maybe you guys have never communicated that, might be awkward and uncomfortable, but that is healthy, and you guys work through it and you build a solid foundation. But if they're having any type of like negative reaction, where cold shoulder, manipulating, raising voices, name calling, anything like that, you need to seriously consider whether or not you want to continue that relationship, or if you need a break from it. So just to recap, take stock of how you're feeling in your relationships, analyze for patterns, try to practice, if you feel safe and comfortable, putting a little bit of space between those relationships once in a while and see how that goes. Try to practice using your voice and having conversations. Maybe get yourself a journal or a notebook, or open up an app on your phone and make some notes for yourself. Analyze how you're feeling, how the person reacted, how things are going. Those types of things can be very helpful. And watch to see what the reactions are like and how the relationship changes going forward. And learn to take some time for yourself and figure out who you want to be and where you want to go, and start discovering who you are. Try to do things alone. Try to do things that excite you, that scare you, that put you a little bit out of your comfort zone, because that's really going to help you build some confidence. And it's going to help you set some boundaries. Practice using your voice. I mean, people are so quick to share their opinions and to talk and to say things and react absent-mindedly. But it takes a lot of intention, takes a lot of courage to speak honestly and from your heart, and to communicate what you need. And it takes a lot to learn how to receive when you're so accustomed to always giving. So that's about it for today. I really hope that this video was helpful in some small way, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. It would mean a lot to me. If you are interested in poetry and blog articles to help you find the words for the things that you're experiencing, to inspire you to feel less alone, I offer a $10 a month membership on my website. Put the links in the description below. I want to thank you for watching this video. It means a lot to me. If you are sticking around, next video is going to be about the dark side of healing. Spooky season's around the corner and I've got a lot planned. I love spooky season, so we're going to be talking about all kinds of things, but I think a really good segue into spooky season will be the dark side of healing. So if that seems like your cup of tea, I can't wait to talk to you. Until next time.